but you haven't helped with special teams. Just can you talk about what Racebeck's going to bring and kind of how he's going to help you?
Sure. I mean, I think our special teams is not just a one-man operation. There's multiple people involved. I mean, obviously it starts with our head coach, Luke Fickle, who has a ton of experience in that area. And so him and I work together, and we brought on Coach Racebeck. He's got a lot of experience, previously at another Big Ten institution. And, I think the biggest thing is just, he does a really good job with our specialists, our snappers, our kickers, our punters, in terms of technique, fundamental, and really being, that coach. Obviously, like a lot of times I'm spending time with outside linebackers, so it's nice to have somebody that's really honed in on specialists. And then, we're all working together just to try to get the best out of all of our units.
Coach, where have you seen the most growth from Anelu since, getting to campus, and just what stood out about his fall camp so far?
I mean, he's a guy that always gives great effort. I mean, he just plays relentless. He plays extremely hard. That's the biggest thing, and I think he's got a good get off. He's shown some flashes of rushing the passer. Still a lot of work to do, but like anything, you got a freshman going through his first fall camp. I've got a few of those guys that never played college football, your first fall camp experience. So there's been some highs and some lows. I think the biggest thing to challenge him is to be really more consistent. And I think we've got only 7-8 practices in. We've got to kind of see where that ends up with some of that consistency.
What was the decision to move Ernest over to you guys, and what went in there? Is it just a numbers thing?
Yeah, I think the primary drivers, we've been able to recruit and develop some depth at interior defensive line. And so as you start to get, 7 days into practice, you start to look at some of the depth you have there. I mean, obviously, Kurt and those guys, and James, and, Ben Barton, I think, is having a great camp. But even, beyond that, the addition of Brandon Lane, and I could go through the guys. And so you're just looking for opportunities, and you just felt like there was more opportunities remaining at fall camp at outside linebacker. I think it also kind of fits a little bit of like his size and his skill set too. It's only been 48 hours on the job. I mean, I just literally made the move, like I said, 48 hours ago, been cramming things in, but I'm force-feeding him a ton of reps and just trying to see, look for those options of where he could have opportunities.
That said, what are the early returns in terms of what you've seen from Ernest in these first couple of days and what you've given him?
Yeah, he's got violent hands, plays hard, he's got really violent hands, got a good get-off. There's definitely a lot of tools there. It's obviously a completely new position with a ton of new calls, and some of the other freshmen had, come into January and they've got 8 months, and I've had 48 hours, so there's some mistakes that he's working through, but I think he's loving the position. And again, like there's some things there I'm cautiously optimistic just based on some of the stuff I've said. And again, I've only had him for about 48 hours, 2 practices I've had him.
Matt, Luke and Mike have kind of mentioned the lack of rotation at outside linebacker late last season was kind of a detriment to the defense. Yeah. Do you feel like right now you're in a better spot with the guys you can trust to go in there?
I do, yeah, and then no doubt, I always have a lot of respect for C.J. Getz and what he did for this program last year in the transition. But we definitely we'll get Aaron Witt back here, just a little bit of a camp deal, just a little ding, nothing crazy. And so I do feel like we don't have, we have 1A, 1B. We have 4 guys, and then so Daryl Peterson, John Pius, Leon Lowry, and Aaron Witt provide more depth than we had in 2023. And then we're looking for that 5th, 6th guy.
Before he went down, was Thomas one of those guys?
It for sure would have been. Yes, for sure would have been. And it's not a season-ending injury. We'll get him back. So it's got to keep him engaged in things. But for sure, he was on a path to earn the right to play as a true freshman.
Is there any timeline for Thomas?
Not sure. Like I said, I coach. I'm not a medical professional. And so I just listen to what the doctors and trainers would get him out there as soon as we can. But he had a great spring ball, great summer. Was off to a really fast start in fall camp. So, we're there, but it's not a deal where he's off the table in 24. Just kind of see how the progression goes, and we're going to make sure we take care of him and everything. But if he's at a point I think he's earned the right to get back out there and put himself in a position to play.
Hey, Coach, not your position, but can you talk a little bit about the fall Nizer's had? I know you have a past connection there.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I love Nizer. I have a lot of respect for him and what he's done, but. He's done a really good job. Obviously, Paul coaches him, but there's a reason when the starters go out there, Nizer's at the boundary corner. I think he's really intelligent. He's a really smart football player. He's really fits the culture of this program. He's tough, nasty, disciplined, does things the right way. So, I'm happy for him. He was provided an opportunity, and he's really taken advantage of the opportunity. And so, known him for a long time, known his family. So it's pretty cool to see him step up and take advantage of that.
Man, I know you and Luke are big proponents of using starters on special teams when you can. How do you think that this team kind of adapted to that or kind of embraced that in the last 2 years?
I think they embraced it immensely. I mean, you talk about Hunter Wooler, who's an All-American, arguably the best football player on the team, and he was on our punt team and led our punt team in tackles running down there. Right now, I think, Jake Chaney has had a heck of an offseason, a heck of a camp, and We got him starting on the punt team, and then, you just got things like that. And so are using different guys in different situations, and, we'll have starters on all the different units, at least one star in the unit. I do think one thing, we have more depth. You guys know this. We have more depth. We're more athletic. I think that's something going to help some of our units. It's going to really help some of our units because we got just, some better guys, at the point of attack that can do some things that are in some different roles. Like Quincy Burrows played a lot last year, but he's going to have, I think, a big year on special teams. Just kind of go through those guys that maybe aren't like the top receiver, the top DB, the top type of guy. Owen Arnett, you know what I mean? Like Bortolotti, like that's my guy. Like he was last year, but he is completely, coming off the injury, has been really dominant special team. So that's a heart and soul of a football team when you have those guys in those positions that can do those things.
When it comes to the return game, just who are you seeing early returns on in fall camp as to who could potentially produce, like whether it's Tretch or others?
Yeah. I think a kick returner, Vinny Anthony, really proved last year down the stretch and in the bowl game that he's really good. So, right now today, Vinny Anthony is back there as the kick returner, and we're using Bryson Green some as an off returner. And I think the punt return deal, Tretch is definitely shows electric ability to do that, but I wouldn't sleep on Tyrell Henry either. I mean, he's really confident catching the ball, and I think that he's had a good solid camp too. So I don't think we're in a position to be named the guy that's back there on punt return yet. There's still some competition left to be done.
So just with someone like John Pius, who's like put on the frame since he's been here.
250 right now.
Yeah, but just what have you seen from him early on too?
John's got an electric get off, and I think he's definitely been a guy that we'll be using on third down. I'm not saying he's not going to be out there first or second down because he does a really good job on some of that stuff too. But we're just going to continue to look for packages and people to affect the quarterback. I would definitely put John Pius in that conversation. I would put Daryl Peterson, Jaheim Thomas. I think our inside guys have improved immensely in terms of pass rush. I think James Thompson is having a great camp. Kurt Neal providing that pressure up inside. So we do have, we have more options in 24 to affect the quarterback than we did in 23.